Hi you guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, and today I will be talking about what I did pre-college, during college, and after college to pay off my $30,000 student loan debt. So let's go ahead and get started. I am looking at notes on my phone, so I'll probably be looking down on my notes for the entire video. But here we go. Of course, I gotta preface this and say I'm not a financial advisor. Please take everything I tell you with a grain of salt. Do your own research. Tweak my steps in any way that works best for you. So I actually knew the importance of paying off my student loans as early as high school. I went to a Boys and Girls Club as a part of the Boys and Girls Club of Metro Atlanta all throughout kindergarten up until my senior year of high school. And what they do with the high school kids is put them through this college bound program. And within that program, at some point in time, the instructor at the time let us know about student loans and like how hard they were to pay off and all this kind of stuff. Basically, in the back of my mind, I had the fact that if I were to take a student loan out during school, the money was not mine. That was very clearly told to us, that the money that we get from student loans is borrowed money and that you will eventually have to owe it back. So I had this in the back of my mind ever since I think maybe as early as my sophomore year of high school. Like I knew very early on what student loans were and the fact that it's money that I had to eventually pay back. But I do think that just hearing from millennials about how terrible student loans were, that was just like another indicator to me that, you know, student loans are not bad, but also they're not so good either. When it came down to me going to college, I had the choice between choosing a good amount of public schools or one private school that I was looking at. Hey you guys, at the time of recording this video initially, I remembered this wrong, so I'm here to correct myself. I applied to 2 public schools and then 2 private schools and got accepted into all 4. Now in high school, in the state of Georgia, there's something called the Georgia Hope Scholarship, and it's a merit-based scholarship awarded to high school seniors who, I think you have to keep a 3.0, above a 3.0, something like that. I'll put the details in here so that you guys can read it yourself. So I was awarded the Georgia Hope Scholarship, which pays for like 90% of your tuition. That's if you go to a public school though. Then I also had the Zell Miller Scholarship. I don't really remember what that one was. I'll also try to find some info on that to get the details of what that one was. But I had my Georgia Hope Scholarship, Zell Miller, and through the Boys and Girls Club, I also had a $10,000 scholarship from there that I could use. I had to spread out the amount of money for 4 years. So I had the Georgia Hope Scholarship was paid for 90% of your tuition, Zell Miller, which again, I'll put in the details for that. And then I had a scholarship from the Boys and Girls Club. I also ended up getting a merit-based scholarship from the private school that I applied to. Had about 4 or 5 scholarships. I think I also got a grant from somewhere. I think Zell Miller is the grant. All I'm trying to say is that I had all this financial aid. And because I had so much government aid, so much financial aid, and a big bulk of a scholarship from the private school that I applied to, I actually decided to apply to the private school versus somewhere like going to like a Georgia State or a Georgia Southern, and where I could have literally gone to school practically for free. So I basically could have gone to public school for free, but I chose to go to private school because I could list a million reasons why, but I really do feel like, and I know for certain that it was the right choice for me. So I went to my private school, got all these scholarships, grants, and I still had a balance at the end of the day. I think it was something like, I think it might have been like $3,000 a semester that I would have had to pay. So I had to then apply for loans. So we applied for the Parent Plus loan. When I say we, me and my mom, or my mom, I guess, since it's the Parent Plus loan. So we got the Parent Plus loan, then I got some other kinds of loans. So even with all my scholarships, all my loans, I still had a balance, I think, at the end of each semester of like, I think around $2,000 or something like that. So with our hands up in the air, my mama told me, all right, Rissa, you have to get a job. Like I don't have the money I don't have $2,000 to give you every semester. So I had to end up getting a job to pay the remaining balance after all my scholarships, grants, and loans. So I got a job. I think I started in August of my freshman year. So I've worked all throughout college to pay for college. My first year, my mom actually helped me out and paid, you know, I don't remember how much she paid, but she paid what she could, and then I had to cover the rest pretty much. When my sophomore year started and the first payment was due and I saw my mom didn't pay anything, I kind of just put in my mind that, yeah, she helped me out my first year, but I'm an adult now, right? So it's time for me to take the responsibility and start paying it all by myself. So that's what I ended up doing. And I didn't feel the need to ask my mom, hey, where is this money? Like, I knew she did the best she could for me my first year. And then after that, I was going to have to figure it out if I wanted to stay in school. So I was fine with that. So I need to be fair and add that my dad also did help us pay for college as best as he could. So my dad's a veteran. He served in the U.S. Marine Corps for a few years, and he helped us, and by us, I mean my sister and I, he helped us pay for school by some kind of program for veterans where if your children and or spouses are in college or some type of post-secondary courses, education, you get paid to be in school. I do not remember the details exactly, but if you want to know more, I can definitely look into it for you if you just leave a comment below. So this is where things start to get a little bit juicy. So if you're in college right now, this is something that can help you if you're trying to pay off your loans starting in college, actually. Okay, so going back to the fact that I had to work literally every single semester of school, every summer, and I don't know why I did this every summer, maybe because the fuss of the school year, you know, you're just trying to get your work done, everything like that. During these summers, I paid the interest on my student loans. They would always be like less than $200 that would accrue over a few months. If you have unsubsidized loans, this is definitely something I would encourage you to do. So the difference between a subsidized and an unsubsidized loan is that a subsidized loan does not accrue interest while you're in school, and an unsubsidized loan does accrue interest while you're in school. So for any unsubsidized loans that you have, which if you got loans from the federal government, you probably got some, I would definitely suggest, if you can, if you're financially able to, pay on the interest that is accruing on those unsubsidized loans, because the interest is honestly the part that really gets people. Like the higher your balance is and the more that interest accrues, like it's literally just like a snowball kind of effect afterwards. So this doesn't have anything to do with student loans per se, but one other thing I'll mention is that I also worked on my credit in college. Ever since college, I started paying my own phone bill. Like that was one of my like first major bills, I guess I can say. I was paying the phone bill, but I was paying it with my debit card. And for whatever reason, I thought that because I was paying my phone bill on time every month from my debit card, that it was building my credit score. But no, that's not what was happening. So once I realized that I wasn't building my credit that way, I got a credit card, one, and then two, I put the credit card on the account to pay the phone bill every single month, and then I would just pay it back, right? So that's one way I started to build my credit. I eventually started doing other stuff with it, but I would always make sure to pay my balance off that very next month. All right, one other thing I wanted to mention was refund checks. And a refund check is given to you, completely edited out what I said here because it was wrong. A refund check is given to you when the financial aid that was dispersed to you was more than what you owed on your account. So let's say on your student account for the semester, you owed $2,000, but you were given financial aid, and as far as loans especially, of $3,000, your refund check for that semester would be $1,000. That money's technically not yours since it's coming from the loan, and it's money that is owed to the loan. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in the video here. Which I think I only got one, I don't think I got one every single year. But the years I did get them, oh my God, girl, those refund checks were hefty. I think one time I got a refund check and it was almost the amount that I was paying them over the few months. Like, was I not supposed to be paying like this money? But whatever. Like I said, the colleges, when they do their books right, are supposed to give you a refund check if they overcharge you. So with my refund checks, I didn't do anything with my loans with those, of course. I think I saved those refund checks. Not the entire thing. I think maybe if I got like a $2,000 refund check, I probably saved $1,000 and spent $1,000. Again, that has nothing to do with student loans, but just like, I guess, like another tidbit as far as being financially aware in college. I know with refund checks, people probably use that as like their livelihood to pay rent or anything like that. But if you're in good standing to be able to save your refund check and not spend the entire thing, even if you only save like $50, depending on how much money you get, right? If you can save something from it, I'm definitely a big proponent of encouraging that. All right, so let's move on to senior year. So I was so focused on getting a job my senior year. I had a whole spreadsheet and everything about the jobs I was applying to and just overall what I wanted to do. My GPA was pretty average, but you guys got to keep in mind, like, I was not only working, but I was also very active on campus. Like, I ran a whole student organization. I pretty much co-ran another student organization. And then I tried to be like a part of other ones that I was interested in as well. So I was a real busybody. I wanted to do it all in college, and I basically did it all. But I did realize that that did affect me a little bit academically. But one thing I will say, when I was applying to these jobs, nobody asked me about my GPA. It does matter if you're doing something like going to school afterwards, but if you're applying for a job, the jobs I applied to did not ask me for my GPA. So I applied to jobs my senior year from September, I think, all the way until the end of April with no kind of offer in sight. It was not until I think we graduated on a Saturday, and I think I heard back from the company that I work with now on like the Tuesday or Monday after graduation. So I graduated from college. 2 days later, I had an offer from a job. That offer from the job was in like the middle of May. And then I started working the next month in the beginning of June. So let's sum this up real quick from the things that I did pre-college, during college, before I get to after college. So one, in high school, I already knew what I was getting into with these student loans. I knew that I was gonna have to pay them back if I got loans. Two, when I got to college, all my expenses that were not covered through scholarships, grants, or loans, I had to pay out of pocket by working. Three, I paid on my interest during the summer months. And then four, when I graduated college, I had secured a full-time position. So now let's move on to after college. So when I secured this full-time position, it was definitely between the time that I accepted the offer and started work, where I came up with this bright idea where I looked at my student loans and how much I owed and saw that I owed around 30K-ish. And that was a federal loan that I had, and then also a private loan. And the private loan was in the amount of about $2,500. And I looked at that balance of about $30,000, and I had already knew what I was going to be making at my new job. And I said to myself, if I give up just a year of my life, and I did most of the math, I didn't factor in interest when I did this, but I told myself, if I just live, basically, I don't know how I'm going to say this. I don't know what I was saying or what I thought, but I told myself that if I just live barely for a whole year, I can pay these student loans off. And that's exactly what I did. I made this out of this poster that I found, this random poster I found in the house. I'll put the picture here of what I'm talking about. But it was to help me visualize every month for 12 months the stagnant amount that I would be paying in order to pay off my student loans. I'm gonna talk about this a little bit later, of course, but as I said before, I didn't account for interest. But then when the whole relief thing came along, interest stopped accruing on student loans. So that kind of helped offset the fact that I didn't think about the interest when it came to paying off my student loans. Keep in mind, when I did this, I moved back at home with my mother. I did not have a car either. So I had no major expenses as far as rent or a car, which of course a lot of people are burdened with, and that's kind of like the first thing people go for once they graduate, which I don't blame you. Once you start seeing money come in regularly, like, I definitely get it. But I moved back to my mom's house. The only expense that I had as far as that was helping her pay the mortgage while I was there. I know people have different opinions about whether when you're staying in your parents' house, you should be paying any kind of rent or anything like that, but everybody's circumstance is different, and I was okay with doing it, and that's all I'm gonna say. Since I didn't have a car either, I didn't have to pay a car note or car insurance or car maintenance or gas. That was at least $500 a month that I was saving in that aspect. So with that in mind, I created a budget, And I budgeted out paying basically that $30,000 that I owed divided by 12, right? Because I wanted to pay this off in a year. And every single month, that would be an expense to me paying off my student loans. I also decided that it would be best to consolidate my loans. Now, be cautious with what this is. When you consolidate your loans, you're putting all of the loans together into one. Each semester, the Department of Education issued out a separate loan for me for each semester. So that ended up totaling to 8 different loans, because I was in school for 4 years and there are 2 semesters in a school year. So it ended up coming out to be 8 loans that were posted onto my account initially. I consolidated them because I wanted them to all be together, and I was able to consolidate all my federal loans. But of course, like I said, I had a private loan, so I couldn't consolidate a private loan with it, which makes sense because it's a whole nother loan issued by a whole nother financial institution. When you consolidate your loans, you basically have to pay it off immediately. When you initially graduate, you have about 6 months before you have to start paying off your loans again. But if you consolidate them, you have to pay them off basically immediately. I think from the date that I consolidated them, my first due date was like somewhere in July. I got the letter back June. So I had to pay it off the very next month. I would only suggest to consolidate your loan because you're taking this with a grain of salt. I'm not a financial advisor. But if you decide to consolidate your loans, you need to make sure that you can pay them off basically that next month. And I knew that I could because I had my full-time job. Consolidating them to me just makes it a little bit easier, because instead of having 8 separate payments and 8 interest percentages accruing on my amounts, I just had one bulk amount with one interest amount accruing on those, and it just made it easier each month for me to be paying it that way. There are other pros and cons for consolidating your loans, but that was just kind of one of the major ones for me. You definitely need to look into for yourself to see if that's something that you're interested in doing. So yeah, that's what happened. I had my bright idea. I put in the request to consolidate my loans. I created a budget, and my first payment was due on July 30th, 2019. I'll include a partial screenshot of my budget. My other major bills were things like Netflix, Spotify. My cell phone bill was kind of high. I was with AT&T until about the middle of this year, until I realized they were charging me way too much. Everything else was like under $100. So I made my budget, and I budgeted out that I would only spend a certain amount of money a month. And if you saw the screenshot of the budget, and you're probably thinking to yourself, Marissa, you're freaking crazy for thinking you can only spend that much money. But I mean, you have to understand that growing up, for one thing, I had to learn how to do a lot of things by myself. My hair, my nails, my makeup, things that people pay other people to do on a regular basis, I learned how to do it by myself because my parents just couldn't afford to do that for us. Also, as far as not having a car, Atlanta does have a metro bus transit system. If you guys live in Atlanta, you know I'm talking about MARTA. I rode 2 trains and 2 buses to work every single day. It was a 2-hour commute going to work, and then also, of course, coming back 2 more hours. To keep myself occupied during that time too, I of course just did free stuff, like when I was at home on the weekends, watching Netflix that I was paying for, listening to Spotify that I was paying for. I also did not intend on being in a relationship. However, I ended up getting into one for a very short amount of time, but I did let him know that, hey, if we're together, I'm gonna be the broke one in this relationship, because I'm not giving up this goal just because you like me and you might want me to do or spend money doing X, Y, and Z. And he understood that, and he was cool with paying for me and stuff like that. Like, again, it was not my intention to be in a relationship, because I knew I was not gonna be able to give out what I was expecting when I eventually did want to start dating. As far as other fun things that I did, since I had a 2-hour commute, I was like, okay, I have to fill up this time, 2 hours, like just sitting down doing something. So I got into reading books. The library is free. Getting a library card is free, I think. I've had a library card ever since for as long as I can remember. And if I had to pay for it, it was probably my mom who paid for it. So I went to the library every few weeks and just got different books and read it on the train. And honestly, I had never read that many books in a year in a long time, maybe ever. Like, I read so many books in that amount of time. And then, of course, as far as other fun stuff that I did go out with my friends, but as long as it was within my budget, right? So if people invited me to go out to dinner, those $200 that I spent, I had to make sure that I, one, had a ride to get there because I didn't have a car. And then two, make sure that I had enough for the food that I was eating and a ride to get back. Now, thankfully, a lot of my friends were nice enough to offer me rides, and I would just, pay them gas money. But yeah, I had to literally budget out hanging out with my friends. That's what I'm saying too. I didn't date, girl. Like, I was not about to let these men be out here paying for every single thing and making me feel guilty. Like, this is something I really wholeheartedly wanted to do. One other thing I helped to kind of give myself a little more spending money. I didn't do this until way later on. And by way later on, I started my job in June of 2019. And I didn't do this until March of 2020, or I didn't get the job until March of 2020, but I got a second job and I worked as a virtual assistant, and that definitely helped out with the subsequent months after that. But I wish I kind of started that a little bit earlier because it would have given me a little bit extra room, especially with the little bit of money that I had to spend on myself each month. And that was an easy job for me to do, considering the fact that I didn't have a car to be going to another part-time job. I could have rode the bus, but riding somewhere for 2 hours a day, pretty much 4 hours a day, like, I think even in a car is tiring. Like, I was not gonna have the energy to be going to no part-time job on the weekends. That was just me. I didn't want the part-time job that bad, but I wanted to pay this loan off that bad. There's one more thing I wanted to add in here as far as what I did to help speed up the process when paying off my loans. So whatever extra money I received, I put that towards my loan. Every year so far at my job, I've gotten a bonus. The amount of the bonus that I got at my job, I put it on my loan. When I got any money back from taxes, if I did, I think that year, I put it towards my loan. Those stimulus checks we got, I put some of that towards my loan. I had to do some other stuff with it, but I put some of that towards my loan. So any extra money I got throughout the year, I would pretend like I never even got it and just put it towards the loan. That's literally how bad I wanted to pay off this loan. Okay, so now let's talk about the COVID relief effort. And actually, I made a whole Instagram video about this, so I'm actually going to insert the video here so you guys can understand what it was. All right, y'all, so like the main reason why I'm choosing to request forbearance for my loans is because literally this zero interest policy means that whatever amount is showing on your student loan account today, however many months you choose to put this into forbearance, or really however many months the interest waiver that Trump implemented is going to occur, means that whatever amount is posted on your account right now is the amount that you're going to pay X amount number of days or months from now. So literally, if you choose to forbear your loans, you won't have to worry about any monthly payments. So you can save up some money, and then when you're ready to start paying again, you will be in the exact same spot that you were at last time. Now, be mindful that you have to request this and be qualified for it. So just because you request it doesn't mean that you'll get it. But I think under the current circumstances, I don't see why people wouldn't get it. Like, we're in a freaking... I just think that this is such a very unique situation that if you can take advantage of it, I would strongly suggest you should. I'm not a financial advisor. I study economics, but I'm not telling you what to do. But I just think that a zero interest student loan where the interest is usually almost freaking 5%, this is insanely perfect for a lot of people. And you never know whether you're gonna have your job tomorrow or not. My job has been trying to let us know that we're kind of safe or whatever, but just from what happened to my family in the 2008 financial crisis, I know that I would just rather be safe than sorry. So during this time where I'm not going to be paying my loans, I'm gonna be stacking up on most of my paychecks and just trying to make sure that we have enough money just in case something bad does happen. So I think it's an opportunity that you should take if you could. So if you watch that video, basically I did what I said I was going to do, and I put my loans into forbearance, and I think they were in forbearance until September of 2020. So I didn't owe any student loans amounts up until September 2020. This did not stop me from saving the amount of money that I was planning on paying, especially going on with the pandemic and all of its uncertainty. I was like, let me just save some money just in case something happens. So that's exactly what I did. Once it felt like things were a little bit more secure, I think this was around the end of July or the beginning of July, I said, I got all these racks saved up. let me just pay on this loan so I can be done with this. Because by that time, by the time July 2020 was rolling around, it was going to be a year. And I was like, I really still would like to reach my goal. Everything was starting to feel a little bit more comfortable, a lot less uncertain. So I did it. I went ahead and put a bulk payment amount on my student loan payment, even though I didn't owe any loans, and it was also not accruing interest. A similar case is happening with the Biden administration, where student loan payments are paused at the time of me making this video until May of 2022. I'm not sure right now if zero interest is also a thing with those. If it's not, that means that the interest that was accruing while it was paused, people might have to owe that interest when the payments start again. If that's the case, and interest, the amount of interest is something that you can pay on, I would definitely suggest doing that. So by August of sometime in 2020, I put a video on my close friends about it, like the day that it happened. But in August of sometime of 2020, I paid off my entire student loan balance. Now, I do want to say that a couple of things, or at least one major thing, happens when you pay off your student loan early, and it affects your credit. So this is why I was mentioning my credit beforehand. For loans in general, there's what they call a loan term, which is the amount of time that they estimate it's going to take you to pay off the loan, right? So this is reported to the credit companies. And if you pay off your loan total before that loan term, it temporarily affects your credit score by a soft increase when it's reported to the credit company that the loan was paid off, hence the account was closed. I definitely didn't know this when I was paying off the loan, but like I said beforehand, I've been working on my credit since college, and I knew at the time what a soft inquiry was, that I was only going to stay on there for a certain amount of time anyway. So I was a little bummed out about that, but I was like, I don't really care at this point. So one other thing I want to mention, when you pay off your loan, you also need to make sure you retrieve a tax form. The tax form is called, I have it saved, I'll put it on the screen too, Form 1098E. It's a student loan interest form, actually, and it tells what interest you paid that year on the student loan. Each year, as far as taxes, you need to get that 1098E form when you're filing your taxes. I don't know much about taxes, but all I know is that I usually have all my forms together. All I know is that the IRS is never gonna come for me for no taxes, because I'll be making sure I have my taxes together too. So I wanted to add here that this Form 1098E is actually used to potentially decrease your taxes. So you can deduct up to $2,500 worth of student loan interest from your taxable income as long as you meet certain conditions. So just read up more on that. One of my student loan companies in college actually made me pay these KITs, like KIT. It stood for keep in touch statements. And at the time, I didn't really know what they were. I just knew that I owed them $10 a month. And then if I didn't pay them, they'd be sending me like text messages and calling me saying, hey, where's your KIT? And it wasn't some like huge amount either. It was $10. And let me actually say that I know $10 is relative to some people. It might be more to some people, less to some people. But it was $10 a month that I had to pay for these KITs. And when I looked at my final statement for my private loans, this was for my private loan, I actually saw that those KITs were going towards my interest of the private loan. I thought that was pretty cool that finance authority was willing to help people out by, like, I don't know, helping them pay their interest off while they were in school. Now, mind you, of course, too, like, everybody probably does not pay those KITs because they don't know what they're for. But if you got your loan from the Georgia Student Finance Authority, that's what those KITs are for. If you got $10 to spare a month, I would definitely pay those. So I covered everything that I've been wanting to get out for at least a year. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, a like, comment below for any questions that you might have had, for anything that you think I might have missed, or just any kind of general questions that you might have. And I really would like to create another video where I'm talking about what I'm doing post student loan, how I saved up for my apartment and car and my emergency fund all in about a year as well. So if you're interested in seeing that, please give this video a like. I think around 15 likes is good enough. I think my first YouTube video, or one of those videos I did on like skincare or something like that, got like 12 lectures, something like that. So get this one up to 15. If it gets up to 15, I am definitely ready to come back and talk more about money and what I'm doing now. So thank you guys so much, and hopefully I will see you next time.